So for today's Draw With Me, I'm going to be walking you through how I recreated the artwork that I made back in 2017 for a college project. So for this piece, I started out by making my artboard in Procreate. I believe I sized it to 2000 by 2000 pixels. And I placed my original artwork in there as the first layer. I set it at a lower opacity, and then in a new layer on top, I started kind of sketching out how I wanted the new piece to look like. So I did kind of follow the form of the original koi fish while making a couple of adjustments here and there. But for the flowers, I actually decided to draw peonies instead of irises. So I'm using the same method that I used for my banner, which is kind of drawing out the circles to show where each flower will be and positioning them, and then drawing those perpendicular lines to show what orientation it will be facing. So once I finish doing that, I start sketching out the flowers as usual. And as always, when I'm drawing the flowers, I'm constantly adjusting the artwork. Actually, that's the case throughout the entire process. Even when I get to like the line work and the color, I'm always kind of taking a look back and zooming out to look at the piece as a whole and trying to see if there's any areas that I can tweak or improve in regards to like layout, color, or just the way that something was drawn, just so the final piece looks exactly like what I envisioned, or even better. Once I'm done with the sketches, I move on to the next step, which is the outline. So I create a new layer, and then I'm using the studio brush. It's my favorite brush to use because I feel like it best mimics how I draw with pen and paper. And I adjusted all the properties of the brush so it would be that way. So for someone else, it might be different. You might have a different preference for a brush, but this is the one that works for me. So once the outline is done, we're moving on to the color, which always takes the longest part but is the most rewarding. So using the same method from the first Draw With Me, I'm going to lower the opacity of my outline layer, and it's gonna be placed at the very top. And then I will create millions of layers underneath, not literally a million because you can't fit that there. I'll create a lot of layers underneath the outline layer and then go in with the color, putting each color, each section on a different layer. You don't always have to be so nitpicky with this part, but I just like doing it this way because I can better control like the shape and the color. So as you can see with the koi fish, I really experiment a lot with the different colors because I just couldn't decide what color I wanted it to be. So I think I originally started with like blue, and then I went to orange, and then I ended up with this beautiful lavender mix. Once the fish is done, I kind of tweak it a little, adjust the color, adjust the scale, and then I merge that all together as one layer, the fish layer. And then I move on to my flower layers. So same method, and this time I'm going to show a close-up of how I use the clipping mask on some of the petals. So as you can see on this petal, it has like these two different sections where the petal is kind of curling up, so you can see the outside and the inside at the same time. And of course, they're going to be different colors not different colors is the right word, like different shades. So I'll go in with my base color and then just color in that petal as usual. And then I create a new layer above it and make that a clipping mask. And this will make it so everything that you draw in the clipping mask layer only shows on the layer below in that shape. So once I finally finished coloring in all the flowers, I decided to add in some more details around the main artwork. So I added some petals. I also added the same texture overlay that I usually add, which is created by making a new layer on top, filling in the whole thing with the noise brush in white, lowering the opacity, and then using the clipping mask so it only applies to the artwork and not the background. And I also changed the color of the background just to help some of the lighter colors stand out a little more. So the next step is creating the text. Now, I definitely had the most fun with this part because although I do hand lettering a lot, I find it kind of hard to explore different types of hand lettering other than the ones that are, you know, like cursive and like block font. So this really was a challenge, but it was really fun too. I tried to make a serify, like old-timey font, and you can't see it on this time-lapse video, but I was actually using the grid that comes in Procreate to kind of help as a guideline to make sure everything was straight and aligned. If you haven't used the grid before in your artwork, I highly recommend it. You can change the size of the grid, you can change like the color of the grid lines, you can use it to make symmetrical artwork. I mean, it is a whole world of grid possibilities. So once I finished creating all the letters I needed for my title, I arranged the sketch layer in the layout that I wanted to be in, and then I went in with the color layer on top of that. At the end, I also decided to add some more like little flourishes on the top and bottom just to connect everything together a little more. And this is something that I'll do quite often in circular pieces. And we're done. Here is the finished artwork. Thank you guys very much for watching. Please like and subscribe and let me know what kind of drawing videos you want to see in the future. Bye bye, beanheads!